All right. So it looks like we have a good group and we have a lot of content to cover today. So first, I'll just quickly introduce myself and say hello. I'm Jordan Brown. I'm the Nonprofit Success Manager for Colorado Gives 365, which is a program of Colorado Gives Foundation. We will be having monthly webinars for our Learn 365 series on a number of different topics. So we really appreciate you guys spending some time with us today to chat about digital fundraising, marketing strategy, and how to become better fundraisers. Um, no huge announcements today, just a really hearty congratulations on hopefully what was an awesome 2023 for you, and looking forward to working with you and supporting your fundraising efforts in 2024. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nathan, who will be running our webinar today, for him to say hello and introduce himself.
Cool. Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Jordan. I'm thrilled to be with you all today. I'm new to Colorado, so I am one of you at this point. I'll share a bit more about that in a second, but thrilled to be able to be a part of this group and to share hopefully a few things that are helpful, insightful, and ultimately practical around how can we onboard and welcome new donors in a more effective way. So excited to unpack that in a little bit more depth. Jordan, should we go ahead and get started, or anything else to say before we dive in?
I think we're ready to go. We got a good group. Hello,
Cool.
everybody. If you haven't yet, introduce yourself in the chat, and maybe Nathan will cover this, but please, we encourage you as we're going through, we're going to be monitoring the chat. So go ahead and put your questions in there, and then if we have time at the end, we'll also answer them. This is being recorded. It's going to be up on our past webinars page, which I can share that link, and we'll also email you all the presentation as well as the recording. All right.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in then. Again, my name is Nathan Hill. I oversee what we call the Next After Institute, which is a portion of Next After. And I'll share more about kind of what we do and all that sort of stuff in a moment. But again, I'm new to Colorado, lived in Texas for about 7.5 years. That's where probably 90% of our company is based in Plano, Texas, just north of Dallas. And I'm from the Midwest originally. My wife is from Wisconsin. I'm from Illinois, and the Texas heat we could not take. So Texas was wonderful, lots of wonderful people, great opportunities. Going to work at Next After there for as long as I was in the office, and now I'm full time remote. But we made our way to the great state of Colorado in June, and are starting to live that Colorado life. So I'm just grateful to be here and be with you all, and for the chance to just get to learn about more nonprofit organizations here in this state and that are local and doing meaningful things for the community. And I'm really grateful to have even the small chance to get to hopefully share some things that are practical and helpful to help you grow giving, so you can grow your impact. So that's my ultimate goal today. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for welcoming me. A little bit about Next After. I saw a couple comments just as everyone sounding off in the chat. So some are familiar with who we are, but I assume many are not. I see Janice comment, I'm a recovering Texan. I wasn't going to say that, but I identify with that. At Next After, we do one thing. We help nonprofits grow their digital fundraising, and we do a lot of different things. We have our toe in the water in a lot of different kind of opportunities to grow giving overall. But really, at the end of the day, what we do is we help nonprofits put digital in a position to lead their programs, and not for the sake of just growing digital on its own, but for the sake of growing a fundraising program holistically. Because what we found is if you put digital in a position to lead, it actually lifts all boats. It lifts all ships. It helps lift your entire program because of how quickly you can learn, how quickly you can reach your donors, even if they never give to you in an online channel, but you're using digital as a means of cultivation and engagement, you can lift overall revenue, value, et cetera. We really do this in three main ways. We're a research lab where we go conduct firsthand research to try to understand what are nonprofits doing today to try to increase giving. We do that through studies like what you see on your screen. We'll go donate to, say, 150 organizations and try to analyze what's the donation experience look like? What are the current trends? Sometimes we're looking at, what does it feel like to be a new donor? What's the new kind of new donor communication? What's the cadence, both online, offline? So we look at it through a lot of different lenses, but just looking at what people are doing doesn't actually tell us what works. It's a pitfall that we often fall into of just seeing, oh, that organization that I really like is doing this cool thing. Maybe I should do it too. But we don't know that it actually works until we put it to the test. And so through our agency, through the probably 50 clients or so that we work with on a day-to-day basis, we're doing all sorts of things, running digital programs, running fundraising programs, but everything is rooted in A/B testing and optimization to try to decode what works to grow giving and grow generosity. And then everything we learn from research, from experimentation, from all of our day-to-day work, running email campaigns, year-end campaigns, all sorts of things, we then turn into training to try to equip you and everyone in our space with what's actually working to grow giving. That's our ultimate vision, is to unleash the most generous generation in the history of the world. And we're never going to do that alone. We need you. So that's why I'm here. And hopefully that's inspiring for all of us to keep learning. Yes, I love it. To date, actually, this is already out of date because these tests are coming in quick. We have, I think the current number is actually 6,220 something experiments recorded in our library, all trying to decode more of how do you get more people to say yes to actually giving. So what I'm going to try to do today is take my opinion out and throw it away and focus on what the data says actually works. It's an impossible task to totally separate those two things, because optimization and growth, it's an art and it's a science, but we're going to try to see what does the data say actually works to grow giving. And as we unpack the new donor welcome series, we're going to work through a bit of a template that we typically use as sort of the go-to playbook when we go build out a new donor welcome series with an organization. It's always customized. It's always unique. It's always tailored to the organization, to specific donors, sometimes different audience segments and things like that. But this is kind of it's a good starting place if you don't have one already, or if you're looking for just how do I optimize and improve what I currently have. That said, where I want to first look is kind of defining what it is, and maybe more importantly, what it's not. What's not a new donor welcome series? Because as I get to talk with a lot of different fundraisers at a lot of different organizations, a lot of people have different ideas as to what this actually means. So here's a few things that are not actually a new donor welcome series, as I would define it at least. Here's some things I've heard. Some people have said, oh, yes, we have a new donor welcome series because we send a thank you email. It's really good that you send a thank you email. In fact, I'm just going through some data from a recent research study, and we found that half of organizations didn't send a thank you email in the first week of someone being a new donor. So you should send a thank you email, but just sending that is not a new donor welcome series. Some people have said this: we'll send our donors a thank you, and then they'll get our monthly newsletter. And that's also good stuff. We want to cultivate people on an ongoing basis, but that's not the same as a robust new donor welcome series. Here's another quote I've heard: if they opt into emails on the donation form, then we'll add them to our email system. That's also not the same thing. There's a variety of reasons why I would say this is not the ideal strategy, because you don't actually need to ask them for permission if they're donating to you. There's implied consent. We could get into that someday if you want to. However, we want to put every new donor that's coming through into our email system and actually go welcome them and onboard them in a meaningful way. Beyond that, they get a receipt, and then they'll get a thank you note in the mail in a couple of weeks. Good things, not a new donor welcome series. Once we get a new donor, it takes us about 2 weeks to put them into our system, and then they get an email welcome series. It's good that you have the communication in place, but if this is you or something like this, 2 weeks is a really long time for somebody to wait to actually get that thank you or their receipt or a welcome email and start the ongoing kind of communication cadence from there. They might not remember that they even gave at the 2 week mark. I mean, if you remind them, certainly they'll say, oh, yes, I did give to that, but it's not top of mind anymore. And so we want to address people right away, welcome them, onboard them, and start that relationship in a really meaningful way. We get one chance to make a good first impression. And if we wait for 2 weeks to start the conversation, we've missed it. So here's how I would define a new donor welcome series for us. It's this: it's a fixed length email series. So it has a start point, has an end point. It's automatically sent to new donors once they give. It's designed to do a few things: to thank donors, to cultivate them, to activate a second gift, or maybe even get them to upgrade to monthly, which we'll look at, and then to ultimately lead to better retention rates. That's kind of the macro level goal of any kind of new donor welcome series. So how do you know if you need a new one? well, if you set any of those quotes I just put up on the screen, you might need a new one or need to take a fresh look at it. Some other things to consider, though, if just you don't have one at all, you definitely need one. We'll unpack the impact on retention and that sort of stuff that it can make. But it can also just be a key differentiator to set you apart from most other organizations. This is a study we conducted a couple of years ago, and this data still holds true the more research that we're conducting. 45% of nonprofits, when we gave to them as a postal donor, so we actually put a gift in the mail, donated to 147 organizations here via the mail and online. We'll look at that. 45% of nonprofits sent nothing to their new postal donors in the first 90 days. Not even a receipt. So no receipt, no thank you, nothing. They didn't hear from them at all, which is really shocking and pretty sad. So if you have a new donor welcome series, you can, you're beating the benchmark for about half of organizations. This number is smaller, but it's probably more shocking to me. 18% of these nonprofits we studied sent nothing to their new online donors in the first 90 days. Even though it's an online channel, we expect instant communication. You expect that you're getting a receipt in your inbox, within probably seconds, certainly within minutes, but probably within seconds of making the donation. You should at least get that. It's so easy and cheap to send a thank you email and follow-up communication, yet 18% of nonprofits didn't send anything at all in 90 days. 90 days, shocking. So if you don't have anything, you need a welcome series. Number two, if your current emails and your current welcome series is being sent from the name of your organization, not from actual people, you might need to reconsider that approach. This is an interesting experiment, and there's many, many like it in our library, where version A here is from Compassion International, is sent from the name of the organization. The subject line sounds kind of like marketing, and the preview text sounds like typical sort of marketing, cultivation, copywriting, what you'd expect to get from a marketing email. Version B takes a very different approach, where it's sent from Audrey, an actual human being. The subject line sounds conversational, just says quick question. This is a holistic experiment where all of the copy in the email itself is actually written in a more conversational tone, sounds a lot less like brand language, and sounds more like something that you and I would send each other if we just sat down to write an email and weren't trying to market to each other. We're just having a conversation. This approach led to a 330% increase in opens, and we consistently see this approach lead to greater engagement, including donations when you send appeals and all sorts of things. So send from a human being, not just the name of your organization. Reason number three, if your emails look like, I'll say, quote unquote, best practice marketing emails that use lots of kind of HTML templates, they use lots of images, lots of design, big logos, big buttons, all that sort of stuff, you may need to rethink that approach also. We've seen not just in appeals, but also in cultivation emails, where a more simplified approach can often lead to greater engagements. And in an email like this, you're just really trying to drive clicks to get someone to engage with an article or a piece of content. Just sending a simple note with a few bullet points led to a 77% increase in people actually clicking through to engage, then using the more best practice approach of put the image in there, have a full description of what the article is, have a big HTML button to read the article. More effective to just send a human note, put a couple of bullet points, and go. That is what actually prompted more people to engage and to read further. Number four, and then we'll get into some more of the details here. If your current welcome series isn't focused on cultivation, you might need to reconsider that. And we'll unpack a bit of what I mean by cultivation. But if you're mainly sharing just updates about your organization, and you're sharing other ways to give, which is the kind of the common approach, send like a welcome email with like, here's everything you should ever want to know about our organization. And then also you can give in this way, you can give in this way. That's a pretty common approach to a welcome series, but it's likely not the most effective. This is a welcome series actually for new subscribers, but the same principles apply here. Version A, they send a survey, they then send an about email, and then they send a series of 3 different donation asks that are all tied to a specific story or testimonial from the organization. They follow that up with a direct donation appeal, and then they hand people off to kind of the ongoing drip newsletter. Pretty standard approach. However, what they tested was something very different. They still send the first survey. They still send an about email, and then they send a series of 6 emails that are just sharing an ebook. So it's a downloadable piece of content helping someone understand more about the organization or about the cause that they're trying to make an impact on. And then they hand them off to the newsletter. At no point in this welcome series did they ask for a donation directly in an email. Instead, after someone would fill out a form to download the ebook, on the back side of that, the confirmation page is called an instant donation page. We'll look at that in a little bit greater detail later on, but it gives the opportunity right there to give. So it's not a direct email appeal. They lead with cultivation. And on the back side of that, they ask for a donation to help reach more people with this valuable content. That approach with no direct donation appeals, does anyone want to guess how much it impacted giving? Open the chat, let me know what you think. I'll tell you the treatment led to an increase in donations. What percentage of an increase do you think it was? 10% lift, 1,000% lift in giving? What do you think? Let me know in the chat. I'll give you about 10 seconds. You can enter your number. Ted says 375, going big. Kelly's going big too with 500%. Allison, tempering expectations, 35% increase, which I think we would all love to see, a 35% increase in giving. We've got some 50s, 30s, 80s. So we're all across the board. If we're pick the median, we're probably 50% increase. Here's what we saw. It's led to a 920% increase in donations, which sounds ridiculous, but this is a real increase. Over a significant period of time, I believe this test was run for about 12 weeks, to see what would happen. Does this actually lead to more people giving? And it certainly did. Taking this cultivation first approach is often the more effective way to actually drive more revenue than just sending more appeals. In fact, they sent no appeals, which is really interesting. I'm not going to recommend that you send no appeals, but it's good to know how impactful cultivation can be. What's really the ultimate purpose? We mentioned this, but the ultimate goal of any kind of welcome series, yes, we want to engage people. We want people to open the emails. We want them to click. We want them to read the stuff that we send. We'd love for them to donate. But the ultimate goal of this kind of a series is not to just get a bunch of donations in the first 90 days. It's actually to impact retention for the long term. That is the more valuable play than just donations now. Because if you can impact retention, it improves all your acquisition metrics and it leads to greater value of those donors over time. Here's a couple interesting data points for you. As we look across the clients that we work with on a day-to-day basis, we have about 50 or so of them. There's about 30 that we've got full access to all their data to kind of stitch it together and see what are the trends. And here's a few of those. Looking at how quickly do people give their second gift? If they give a second gift, how quickly do they give it? A social services organization, 44% of those second gifts came in the first 90 days. A missions organization, 36% of them came in the first 90 days. Same trend with higher ed, a little bit smaller. This organization, they saw 28% of second gifts come in the first 90 days, which is just to say there's a lot of activity, even in this initial window, where some traditional thinking is that we should probably wait to ask them for a gift till later in the year, maybe 6 months down the road. Maybe we wait, if they just came in now, maybe we wait till year end when we do a high urgency campaign, and that's kind of when we're going to ask them. Colorado Gives Day, that's when we're going to try to reactivate people again. But there's actually significant opportunity now in this first kind of welcome window to get people to re-engage and reactivate and give again. And the impact, if we can do that, is really dramatic. So when we look at retention rates for new donors, I lost my mouse and where I'm clicking, here we go. For a new donor, if they give one time in their first year, what we are seeing is they have a 21% likelihood of actually retaining into year 2 if they give one gift in their first year. If you can get them to give one additional gift and actually give a second gift in their first year of being a new donor, their retention rate goes through the roof compared to all the industry benchmarks about new donor retention. They jump up to a 45% likelihood to retain in year 2, which we like to look at conversion rates and percent lifts. That's a 114% increase in new donor retention if you can get them to give a second gift in their first year. And so that is really the focal point of a new donor welcome series, is how do we move them into a position where they trust the organization, they trust the impact that they can make with their donation, they understand the additional needs that there are so much that they're willing to give again, or even maybe upgrade to a recurring donor, so that we can dramatically move the needle on retention and revenue for the long term. So all that. That's a lot of like just unpacking kind of a lot of data points to hopefully show you how critical this initiative is. It's one of a new donor welcome series. I'm not going to lie, is one of the hardest things to actually get off the ground because there can be a lot of data that goes into it. There's a lot of copywriting that goes into it, which often means there's a lot of people that want to speak into it, which makes it really hard to get everybody to say, yes, let's go, turn the thing on, let's get this welcome series off the ground. So I don't expect that you can go magically turn this on in the next 5 to 7 days. But hopefully this gives you a bit of the framework to start to put some things together, maybe get some quick wins and have an intentional focus on why this is going to be so important as an initiative this year and hopefully even this quarter to get this off the ground if you don't have one already. Here's the framework. And this is, again, the kind of essential playbook that we go to whenever we are starting to build a new donor welcome series. You can customize it in a million ways, but this is a good starting point. It's 8 emails that are going to be sent in roughly 24 to 30 days. That may sound like a lot of emails, but we're going to unpack them. We don't have time today to unpack every single one of them. So I'll circle the ones that we're actually going to focus on. The first one is very, very simple, the thank you email. That comes right away. We want to thank people in a meaningful way. It can be attached to a receipt email also. We want to thank people in a meaningful way. And then we're going to welcome them with a dedicated welcome email on day 2. We're then going to send them, ideally, a content offer email. We'll unpack that. You can include a survey email. You can do some stories of impact. We want to make sure that we ask, again, for a second gift, and specifically ask them to upgrade to monthly, which we'll unpack that. The reply back email, we'll unpack that one today. How do we engage people just by using the email channel for what it was made for, which is facilitating a conversation, asking for a reply. And then finally, the last email would be the transition. How do we let them know kind of what's coming next in terms of ongoing communication? So these are the 8 sort of core emails. You can see the stars is like, if you're going to start somewhere, you can't do everything. I would pick these 4-star emails, the thank you, the welcome, the reply, and the transition. But we're going to unpack 5 of them today in a little bit greater detail. So let's get going. The thank you email. This is the very first one. It can be pretty straightforward. We don't need to overcomplicate some of these things. But one of the common, I would say, common pitfalls or common misses as we're doing audits with different organizations or making a bunch of donations, we're seeing what people are doing, is just simply people will say, hey, thanks for donating. Here's the receipt, and that's it. There's no other information about why someone gave in the first place, what kind of impact they might expect to see with a donation. We're not reinforcing oftentimes how awesome it is that someone just gave of their money to go impact something really meaningful. We want to really reinforce that. With this email, we're trying to build trust. We're trying to help our donors develop a certain competency around the impact that their gift can make, around the cause specifically, so that they can talk more about it and feel good that their gift is doing something that's actually really helpful towards a cause that they care about. And then give them this kind of spirit of connectedness. We're going to do that over a couple of emails, but help them start to understand that they're not alone in caring about this cause, that there's a community of people that care about it too, that they're now connected to as a donor. I would recommend that you send this from your chief development officer or equivalent director of development, something like that. Not necessarily like an executive director, unless you wear a bunch of different hats and you play all these different roles. We want to send from a believable person. And who's the most believable in this case to be sending a thank you? It's probably the person that is overseeing giving. So that's who I'd recommend you send it from. I have a whole checklist for you. I won't read it verbatim. You'll get these slides, and I have a resource for you that kind of will keep all these things in mind. You can have it in a PDF next to you when you're writing copy and all that stuff. But a few highlights. Obviously, we want to make sure we say thank you. That's the one thing we're doing. We're not asking for any kind of further actions in this email. We shouldn't ask them to go give a second gift or do anything else in this email. We just want to say thank you in a meaningful way. A thank you that's attached to a call to action is not nearly as authentic and genuine as just a thank you on its own. So say thanks, confirm the donation, talk about the tax deduction stuff, all the stuff you've got to do. Express your gratitude. If you can even share a story or some sort of quick little couple lines helping someone understand what's really the impact this gift could make. That can go a long way. Provide some contact information so that people know how they can follow up if they have questions and they want to dive deeper. So there's your checklist for you. I'll highlight a few things in this example that I think are good and that you can copy and paste if you want to. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Number one, this is an example from Prison Fellowship International. They say, "Dear Trent, thank you for your support. We are grateful for your generosity." Not the most complicated language in the world to write. They're just straight up saying thank you, encouraging that generosity, saying that they're grateful for it, and leading with that. Not leading with all the like transactional stuff. They're leading with gratitude. Moving down, they give a little bit of deeper understanding as to what kinds of things a gift can do. They're showing how the gift is being used through impact stories. You're helping us care for nearly 6,000 children of prisoners in 9 countries. Here's a little story about 14-year-old Yvonne in Rwanda. Here's her story. Here's what was happening with her. You're helping prisoners like Yvonne's parents too, and they unpack that in a little bit. It's not some super lengthy, long-form thing. It's a couple quick paragraphs giving you a little bit of context, helping you feel really good about the decision that you just made to give. That's what we're trying to do. And then moving down to the bottom, again, not overly complicated. If you have any questions, here's how you can reach me. Here's my phone number. Here's our email. And then they add this little question at the end. If you've got a spare moment, would you just share how you learned about PFI? Not a big call to action, not asking you to go click and do something over here, just starting a real relationship and a real conversation, making sure they know there's an open door for questions and for connection. That's really what we're trying to do in this email. And I just want to emphasize, not just with this email, but with all emails, the impact of personalization. Most tools have this kind of built in. It's a very simple thing to do. But when we overlook it, it can actually be detrimental. Version B here, the only difference in these 2 emails is that version B says, "Hi, first name," in this case, "Hi, Jeff." And by adding that just tiny little layer of personalization, led to a 270% increase in clicks. I can't guarantee these results for you every single time, but you can see the power of just a little bit of a personal touch, whether it's in the first name or it's in that authentic language even. So make sure we've got that in mind as we write our copy and write these emails. A little quick tip, because you've got the tools to be able to do a lot of this stuff, which is just the best thing. So some quick tips on if you've never kind of customized your thank you emails, receipt emails, you can. Quick little window into the tools here. If you go to donation receipt, you can customize your message, add a custom thank you message here, add some of that contact info, add the kind of encouraging stories, show the impact that'll go right into this receipt email. So you've got the combination of thank you and receipt all there together. You can actually customize the whole flow from the donation form to the actual thank you confirmation page, which is often overlooked. You can customize obviously the thank you and receipt email that goes out. You'll have these slides, so you can grab this link to go look at some of these previous webinars that unpack how to use some of these tools in a meaningful way to go customize that sort of checkout flow, if you will. But that's the best thing, is you've got these tools in your hands right now to go put some of these things to work. Jordan, any other comments you'd make on that?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, I think, whatever you're doing in your outside marketing tool to, take what we learned today and create a new welcome series, that can be applied within the Colorado Gives system too. So customizing your checkout flow, it can go hand in hand. I'll share some resources in the chat that you can click on. That'll help you do that.
Cool. And that's the other piece of this too, is there's some really, I'm new to the Colorado Gives world. I'm just kind of discovering it. Jordan gave me access to go click around and play around with things, and just discovering the integrations that exist gives you so much power. If you're you want to set up your automation welcome series in MailChimp, there's a direct integration. If you're using Salesforce, there's a direct integration. If you're using Constant Contact, you're using Emma, you're using any of these other mail tools, there's a Zapier integration for those to go push data wherever you need it so you can get this stuff up and running. So you've got the tools in your back pocket. You may need to have some advanced features to activate a few of those, but that is as you can see, looking at that 920% increase in donations, well worth the time and investment to set that up, because you should be able to make the cost of that tool back pretty darn quick. With a few quick wins here. So again, you'll have these slides. You can click through these links and go kind of check out pricing and more details about integrations that are available. Let's get to the second email. This is the welcome email, and similar goals to the thank you email, except we're not really talking about the transaction anymore. We're still trying to build trust, help them understand who is it that I just gave to, because they're a new donor at this point. Help them continue to build that competency and understanding what more about the cause that they're trying to impact and more of the details and how a gift can make a difference, and still trying to emphasize that sense of connectedness and community. And that's probably the larger focus of this email. Variety of different senders you can send from. Send from a believable person. That would be my primary encouragement to you. But you could certainly send from your executive director at this point, or a CEO. It could be a fairly high level person, but we still want it to sound authentic and feel authentic as well. Few checklist items for you. Talk about your values. Talk about what you believe. Talk about your mission. Who are you trying to impact in a meaningful way? We want to really lean into those shared values that we have with our donors, so they feel like they belong and have that sense of connectedness and community. We want to talk about the community that they've just joined by becoming a new donor. Again, they're not alone. They're not isolated. They're not the only person that cares about this thing they're giving to. They're part of a group that's trying to maybe even grow a movement to change something and to make a meaningful impact. And then invite them to learn more. Give them a call to action, to an article or to a welcome video, some other content to click through and dive deeper and engage more if they would like to. Some good things from IJM. This welcome email example from them. I'll highlight not everything, but a couple good things. And number one, up here, they're inviting the donor into a community. They're saying, with you, we are a community of activists, abolitionists, prayer partners, and justice seekers fighting to end modern day slavery. So basically saying, you're not the only person who thinks this is really meaningful. There's a group of people that care about all these same things, and they're starting to outline what some of those shared values and goals are. So doing that's really, really critical to help people feel part of the community. Down here, showing how you're going to continue to follow up with them. In the coming weeks, you're going to start to receive stories about survivors, updates on how the fight to end slavery is growing, and opportunities for you to make a greater impact. You're just setting proper expectations that there's going to be more, there's more communication. If you set those expectations properly, people are going to receive it better. You'll have better engagement rates. They won't be surprised that you're communicating if we set the right expectations. So there's a couple good things you can do in that email. An experiment example for you. Version A here, you don't have to read all the copy, but you can clearly see all the blue words. There's a lot of links in version A. They're trying to get you to go read stories about all sorts of different people, coupled with the fact that they're very tiny links. So especially if you're on a mobile device, you're trying to click the word here, that's 4 characters. It's just a point of frustration. Version B, they ask you to basically go click on one thing. Yes, there's a tiny here link at the bottom too, but they've got the full URL. It's a big link. Looks like how you and I would just pop a link into an email anyway, so maybe a bit more authentic. They're asking you to take one specific action, not 5 or 6. This approach led to a 96% increase in clicks. So just don't ask them to go engage with 5 different articles and 5 different welcome videos. Send them in one direction. You're going to have a better chance of getting them to do one thing than you will if you give them 5 different decisions to make. The content offer email. So again, we're skipping around a little bit because we don't have time to unpack every single email, but we've covered the thank you email and the welcome email. One email that you may consider including, and this will take probably a little bit more effort to put together. So I just want to get wheels turning about it. We call it the content offer email. Essentially what we're trying to do is lead with cultivation. Again, I'll show you a bit of the funnel, how it might lead to donations and revenue, but ultimately we're trying to lead with cultivation. The goals here, we're still increasing competency, but now we're trying to give the donors kind of a sense of autonomy, choose their sort of own direction as they engage with deeper, more meaningful content, and help establish a feeling of commitment. If you have to go fill out a form to engage with a piece of content, there's this feeling of commitment that's built there. I had to do something. It provides you an email address in order to get back something of value. And so it's a little micro step forward in just their commitment to you and your organization, which can actually help unlock revenue, even on that instant donation page we'll talk about in a moment. Examples of content offers. The most common thing would be an ebook. And lots of organizations that I've talked to about this type of an approach would say, well, what do we have to offer? I don't know what we have to offer. Most likely, you have stuff in your back pocket, whether it's on a shelf in your office, or it's content that's already on your website in the form of articles or blogs. It could be in the form, maybe you've got really interesting testimonials and stories in an annual report that you've put together. If you're doing a podcast or something like that, you create any video content, there's great raw materials and all those things to be able to pull out copy and go create, say, a 10-page ebook. It doesn't have to be a big 50-page thing. This is like, plug it into a Word doc. You've got a 10-page book that's unpacking something interesting to help give someone some more insights about the impact that they can make as they're giving, and the impact that your organization is making in specific areas. So put that kind of content offer together, and then we send it out in an email. We share what the resource is. We share how it's connected to the mission, how the content is related back to what someone really cares about. You can show how it's going to benefit them. Are they going to learn some practical things that they can do in their everyday life that are going to benefit them? What's the unique value to the user? And then ultimately, one call to action. Don't ask them to do 5 things. Don't give them a PS to also go donate. We just want to ask them to go engage with the offer. Here's an example email. This is from Food for the Hungry. It says, 1 at a time, your free gift from Food for the Hungry. Download your ebook. And then they start to unpack a little bit more about what is part of that ebook. They're talking about the history of Food for the Hungry and that sort of stuff, giving you some deeper insights and understanding of the cause and the impact and what's new and what's changing and what's going on. They unpack that in a lengthy email to give you the full understanding of why should you download this thing rather than just hit delete on the email and move on with your life today. You've got to provide enough copy. But up top, again, they're offering the free valuable resource. They've got bullet points here that are showing the connection to the mission. This book is going to help you see how that helps people see they have a future, bring about long-term transformation in the neediest communities, lift people out of poverty. All these stories are going to help you get deeper understanding of all these different kind of key bullet points here. And then once someone clicks through, here's a bit of what the funnel would look like. You've sent them an email. They come to a landing page. We don't have time to unpack all the nuance of landing pages today. We can do that at a later date, but you come to a page, you read more about the offer, you fill out a form. Instead of going to a confirmation page where it'd have a link to download the book, send that book or the offer to their email address. And instead, use your confirmation page as an opportunity to say thank you, confirm that, hey, that ebook, that offer is on its way to your inbox. Would you consider giving? And like you can do that pretty quick, get to the point quickly. And then this is a very lengthy page. Your page does not have to be this long to make a meaningful appeal. But this page is a dedicated donation page, the instant donation page. Down there at the very bottom, you can see is the start of the donation form, where someone can make a gift right away to oftentimes help go reach more people with this valuable piece of content. That's often kind of the appeal approach on this page. So this is the model. We could spend 4-5 hours talking about this model in great detail and all sorts of things. We've got courses that do that. Let me show you a bit of how your existing tools can help empower this kind of a strategy. Before I do that, I see a question from Julia. How many pages in the ebook? I would say 10 to 15. It doesn't have to be anything super lengthy. And in that 10 to 15 is also like your cover page and your back cover page. So it's not like wall to wall writing a 12-page report or something. So it doesn't, oftentimes that's like a long form blog post that you've turned into more of a PDF type of resource. Tools. Okay. You should, from my understanding, all have access to this donation widget, which is one of the simplest ways to get a donation form directly on your own website using the Colorado Gives tools. So you can use these tools throughout the year, not just Colorado Gives Day. You can use these to empower greater donations even through your own website. So this widget is a powerful tool that you can use. You can create a donation widget. I combined widget and page. Create a donation widget to add to your page, customize it as you need to. It'll give you some code you can copy and paste. If you're using a WordPress site, you're making your own kind of custom page there. If you use a tool like Unbounce or like Lead Pages, that sort of thing to create landing pages, you can embed a widget right there. So you've got a form right there on the page to make that instant donation page. I see examples just posted in the chat, and we've got it here too to just look at. This is what it looks like on a page. If you go create one of these widgets, put it directly on your website. See, it's got all the different kind of website branding and everything there. Customize your copy, whatever you need to do on the page. and collect donations directly. It doesn't redirect you to a different website. It all happens inside of the widget at the same kind of fees and stuff that are typical of the Colorado Gives tools. So no surprises there. It doesn't cost you any more to do that. You've got the tool in your back pocket. One thing I'd consider, I encourage you to consider is these embedded donation forms that let you go even a little bit deeper from just the widgets and actually customize a full donation form that you can embed directly on your website. They cost a little bit more, but the returns that you can potentially get from this are significant. You've got to upgrade to the premium version to get it. Here's an example of what it looks like. You can see this page has the full donation form embedded right on it. You've got the opportunity within your website to put your own copy, write that longer form narrative around why someone should give, thanking them for just having downloaded that ebook, talking about why they should give, and then moving directly into that donation form. Jordan shared some interesting stats with me that I thought were very, very exciting. In terms of average monthly donations of organizations using these two tools, people that are just using the widgets see about $578 per month per organization. People who are using these customized forms see a pretty significant returns. $2,729 per month per organization if you're using those customized forms. Now, that doesn't mean that the form just magically makes more money. It normally implies people are using these types of strategies with those customized forms to drive greater giving. But just have that in your head as you're thinking about how do I justify that cost? You're going to see those returns by implementing these types of strategies. So consider that. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Moving forward, the next email I want to look at is, we've welcomed people, we've thanked them. Hopefully we're cultivating them with some content. You could even then have that survey email in here. You could have an email sharing a story of impact. And then I want to make sure that we get around to making a clear donation ask. Again, if we can get someone to make that second gift in their first year of being a new donor, their retention rates go through the roof in terms of likelihood of giving in the next year. And one way we can really do that and even drive that further up is with a monthly donation ask. We've built trust already with these emails. We're helping them understand the impact that these donation is making on an ongoing basis and the ongoing needs that there are. We've probably shown them that there's much greater need that they even knew existed when they first donated. And they're that much more committed if they're engaging with content. And so it sets us up to make a really meaningful monthly donation ask. Here's an example of what it could look like. Again, you've got a wide variety of senders that you can send this from. I'll give you your checklist here. We want to reference that they've already given. We want to thank them for that previous gift that they made a few weeks ago. Remind them of the impact. We've been telling them, but not everyone opens every single email. So we want to remind them of the impact that their gift has made and has been making. And then this is probably the most critical one, that third bullet point. Explain the unique impact of making a monthly donation. We often talk about what we call the value proposition question for fundraising and for donations, which goes like this. If I'm your ideal donor, why should I give to you rather than to some other organization, or even at all, because I don't have to give? And when it comes to a monthly recurring giving ask, really what people are asking is why should I give to you? Why should I give you a monthly donation rather than just a one-time gift or even at all? I don't have to give monthly. I could just continue to give whenever I kind of feel like it on a one-off basis. So what's the unique value proposition around why someone should give? I'll show you an interesting experiment example of that. A few highlights from this example from our friends at Canadian Taxpayers Federation in the Great Wide North. Your contribution helped make a real difference in our fight. Reminding them, thanking them for their previous donation. Down here, they talk about tax policy and their views on that. So they're talking about the fight against taxes, that sort of thing. And what they're really doing, they're showing them that there's an ongoing need. They say, I can tell you that fighting back is a 365-day-a-year job. You can be the first line, or these people that we employ as investigative journalists and specialists, they're the first line of defense every day of the year. Insert your own organization here, but there's ongoing work that you do every single day that needs funding, that needs support. It's not a one-off thing that happens one time a year. So tell that story of why is a donation needed ongoing because there's ongoing work every single day. We want to be able to tie that back. And then down below here, provide a clear call to action. You might even try giving some very specific goals. This one says, we're looking for 10 Canadians to step up. You're looking for 10 people to become a recurring donor. Would you consider making a recurring monthly donation? Even $5 per month is meaningful. And then they reiterate it down at the bottom. Would you consider being one of the 10 Canadians we're looking for to be a monthly donor? So you can test giving some specific goals like that can really help people feel like I'm not just one in a big sea of people, but I'm one of a handful that are committed to making a real impact on the cause. I love this experiment because, well, it's a very long form email appeal. It's asking people to become a cornerstone partner. And for this organization, that's kind of their brand name for their monthly recurring donor program. These emails are exactly the same until you get down here below the call to action even. And they add a few bullet points, basically just saying, hey, when you become a cornerstone partner, here's a few specific things that you're going to get as unique value adds. They're not helping someone understand the greater impact of making a monthly donation. They've already done that up top in both emails. They're just adding a couple quick, simple incentives, a copy of this commentary, a subscription to their magazine, early access to new online courses that they're producing, and then the big one, semi-annual update emails. Hello, we're all signing up for that. All these incentives, just a few quick bullet points, very simple things they can provide. This led to a 123% increase in people choosing to become a monthly donor, just by seeing that extra level of unique impact or unique incentives that they could get by joining the program. Guess what? There's lots of great tools you have in your back pocket to empower this, which is fantastic. And Jordan, you can clarify some of this too if I'm not accurate in how I describe this. But from my understanding, you can create a donation page. It's got monthly donation opportunities. I believe you can default it even to the monthly gift. Now, you may not be able to customize the gift array dynamically from a one-time donation to a monthly donation. But if you set up a page like this as kind of, this is my dedicated monthly giving page, you can contextualize the gift array specifically for those monthly donors. So if you normally would start at like a $50 gift, $100 gift, $250, $500, maybe walk that back, start at like the $20, $25 a month, $50 a month, like what you see on your screen. Contextualize the gift array for those monthly donors because that's what you're asking for. You'll likely see better conversion rates that way. But go ahead and create that dedicated donation page. Anytime you can contextualize the page and the messaging and all of that, you're going to see greater response rates. You can go monitor your ongoing recurring donations and recurring donors through the reports tab. You can also go drill into retention and look at how this might be impacting retention rates over time. Again, not just one time a year at Colorado Gives Day, throughout the year as you're utilizing these tools on an ongoing basis. A few links for you. You don't have to go quickly type this into your browser. You'll get these slides you can click through. That's a long one to type in. But there's all sorts of help articles that can help you understand how to best utilize these reports, what kind of data you're looking at, what all the different kind of metrics mean, and all sorts of things. So you can go check those out to dive deeper. The last email, and I see we've got 11. Yes.
Sorry, Nathan. I just want to quickly just mention that I dropped those FAQs around recurring gifts into the chat. And Allison had a quick question. Is it recommended that fundraisers make a recurring donation the default? How do donors feel about that? And so you have some options there. If you don't feel comfortable with making your main organization page donation form defaulted to monthly, now keep in mind, they can always just toggle back to one time. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, I see a lot of organizations setting up a fundraiser page. And on that form, that's where they defaulted to monthly. And that becomes where they're pushing all of their monthly donors to make that transaction. So I just wanted to clarify that for you, Allison. If you have more questions, happy to connect one-on-one. And then Ted also asks, if someone's giving through Colorado Gives, is there a smaller credit card fee than for my own donation form? Love that you're asking this question because yes, we have industry low fees, meaning your effective fee rate is pennies related to you using an external system like a PayPal or other donor transaction tools. And that's really because we raise so much money on the platform, we're able to negotiate with these credit card companies. And so you get PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay, all of these things built into Colorado Gives at the same low fee structure. So I'll drop that fee structure into the chat so you can discover that.
Amazing. Thank you. Those both good words. And I would, even on the recurring donation one, just add to that. If the call to action someone has clicked on is specifically about monthly recurring donations, you can feel really comfortable defaulting that to a monthly gift. Now, if you don't know how they're getting there, like your primary main donation page where they might be clicking through just like a one-time gift button, maybe they don't even realize it's defaulted to monthly, and they go through and realize, oh, I just signed up for a monthly donation. I didn't mean to do that. And they got refunds. But if the call to action is specifically about monthly donations, you should feel very comfortable doing that. And you can also, and you'll hear this as my mantra forever, you can also put it to the test, A/B test it. We'll get to that at some other day and talk about the nuances of that, how to do it, et cetera. But that's a worthwhile experiment to run. We're going to power through this last one, and it's fairly simple. So I think we can cover it just in a minute or so here. It's the reply back email. And this is really a relational email, trying to build even further trust, but also give people this sense that, like, I've got an advocate in the organization. I've got someone I can reach out to. They care about me. They care about what I think. And this is a great example. We'll highlight a couple of things from it of just a very straightforward email, using email for what it's made for, which is replying and having a conversation. Quick checklist, personal copy, personal tone. Style your email like an email that you and I would just send each other out of Gmail or Outlook or whatever tool you use. We don't need big buttons. We don't need fancy templates. We're just writing an email. Ask a relevant question that would prompt a reply that you actually want to know the answer to. We want it to be genuine and authentic. You have to be ready to filter through these emails and actually reply back, which is probably the scariest part of this whole thing. I have an example I'll show you that might show the power of this, and how maybe with the results you get, you might afford a part-timer or an intern or someone who can help manage those replies. We don't want to include any other calls to action. We're not asking for a gift or something. We're not asking for someone to go click and take a survey. We just want a reply back to build that human level relationship, even through a digital channel. Here's the sample email. Some great things that are in here. The design looks just like an authentic email that you would get from Matt, just on a normal everyday basis. It just gets sent out in an automated way, but looks like a very real email, because ultimately it is. Ultimately it is. Someone can reply back and have a real conversation. We're just doing it at scale. Asking for a reply, reinforcing that their voice is valuable. They say, we value you, your story and your voice matter to us. Feel free to share why you support our organization, what inspires you. And you might ask a more specific question. That's a pretty open-ended, pretty vague question. Maybe you have something more specific that's really beneficial information for you to get back, or helps you understand more about your donor or their situation. Note that there's no other calls to action in this email. That's a good thing. The call to action, hit reply. That's the call to action. This is a great little experiment from a few years back. We ran this in our own marketing. And I share this just to show you that this is not just some like nonprofit specific fundraising magic tactic. This is just how people behave and how people interact in the inbox. We often put on webinars ourselves as well. And we want people to show up. And if they don't open the first email and sign up, we'll send them another email and remind them. And so version A here was typically a typical follow-up email. We say, hey, I sent you an email last week about this webinar that's coming up on this new research study that we have. Just want to make sure you saw the opportunity to sign up. Here's the link. Down below is the full original invitation. So all the context is down below. Version B, we wanted to see how far can we kind of take this reply back idea. And there's no call to action in this email in terms of having a link to click through. It simply says, hey, I didn't see your name on the registration list. Do you want me to send you a recording of it? Just let me know and I'll add you to the list. And then down below, you've got the whole email. Yes, there's the original kind of call to action link. But what we saw is really interesting. 25% more people actually signed up for the webinar by not giving them a link at all and just asking them to reply. And so hard to go calculate, conversion rates and stuff, because you're looking at how many people replied back and wanted on the list and all that sort of stuff. Hard to manage that at scale. But I think the point is clear that people are more likely to engage in a meaningful way if we don't act like marketers in the inbox, but we just act like people. And we engage with people in a very authentic and genuine way. Some last little highlights to note just about new donor welcome series in general, and we'll fly through these, but it's not just about sending from a person, it's sending from the most believable person. So consider who's the most believable, authentic, the best person to talk about the content of the email. This experiment, without reading through all the copy, sent from 2 different senders, the email is exactly the same. One is the president, another is a VP of a specific division of the organization. Joanne was the better sender by a whopping 150% increase in giving, because she's the more believable person to talk about the subject matter of the email. She's not the president overseeing everything. She cares about the stuff that they're talking about in this specific appeal. Don't feel like the only way you can engage people is email. You've got lots of channels that you can utilize, and multi-channel communication can go a really long way to increasing engagements. We often like to think about people in channels. I've got my digital donors, I've got my offline donors. People don't think of themselves as a channel. They interact with a lot of them. So use other channels to engage people. Some data from our friends at Bloomerang. New donors who receive a phone call within the first 90 days are nearly 25% more likely to retain. That goes up even further if you get multiple calls. There's tools like Sly Broadcast that you can use to enable like direct to voicemail messages without having to go have a phone call with every single person who gives. You can automate this, use that Zapier integration to say, hey, a new donor came in through Colorado Gives, push them over to Sly Broadcast, send them this personalized voicemail so they get some human voice on their phone telling them, I'm really grateful for your gift. Here's some of the things that it's doing. There's some great tools. It's going in the chat right now. There's some great resources to talk about, how do you add that kind of custom question to your form to get the phone number if you're not already asking for it. I wouldn't require it on the form, but I would keep it optional. You might decrease conversions if it's required, but if it's optional, it doesn't tend to harm conversions at all. And you still get a significant amount of those coming through, so you can make those phone calls.
And I'm just going to back that point up. We were just looking at that data. So if you require the phone number, typically you see more abandonment. So just wanted to confirm that from the Colorado Gives side of things.
Nice. I love that you have that data on hand. That's fantastic. And this one sometimes can be a little bit more complicated to sync up these channels, but there's ways you can automate this too. Just dropping a postcard in the mail. This is a cool experiment from a few years back. This organization was talking about Thanksgiving around the Thanksgiving holiday and just wanted to say, we're grateful for you. And they split their file in half. Half their donors got the normal cadence of just year-end communication. The other half got the same communications, but they also got this thank you postcard. They open it up, they read a thank you message. They could type in this kind of personalized URL to view a video from the president of the organization saying thank you. It's all was a cultivation piece. The people who got this card were 204% more likely to give by the end of the year-end season. So consider, can I drop a postcard or some other meaningful kind of direct mail touch like that as another point of engagement? There's a great tool called Handwritten that can do this in an automated way for you and use one of those like cool fancy handwriting machines to do it so it looks like it's legit and it's authentic. There's a lot we don't have time for today. We're coming up just on time here. There's so many more emails we can unpack. We can go deeper into all the ones we even covered. We can talk about data. We can talk about segmentation. We can talk about testing, platforms, all this sort of stuff. If you want to dive deeper, first of all, you can scan this QR code, and these links will go out too. To get this kind of email timeline, it's a PDF guide that walks you through basically everything that we've talked about, shows you these emails and some key checklist items to have in mind as you write your copy and put these together. The second piece of this is we have a full course that unpacks all of this stuff, even the stuff we didn't have time to get to today, in great detail, taught between myself and Courtney Cruz, who oversees kind of all of our client engagements and leads a lot of this stuff every single day. So you can scan that QR code. You can, most of these courses are available through a membership to the Next After Institute, which costs about $49 a month, but you can start a free 30-day trial. You can definitely finish this course in the next 30 days if you want to dive deeper. So start the free trial, get access to the course. If you love it, you want to dive deeper, great, continue on. We've got a bunch more courses in there on other topics too. But I'd love for you to dive into that if you want to dive deeper into this topic. I have some time to stick around if you have a few questions and things. I know we're right at time. Yes, again, but if you have to go, you got to catch a meeting, grab lunch, whatever. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for showing up. Thank you for giving an hour of your time to learning and to growing. That's not easy to do. So I'm really grateful for it. And I wish you all the best as you go start to implement some of these ideas and build out your own new donor welcome series. For those that can stick around, if there's a couple questions, happy to take them.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you could raise your hand, and we'll call on you, and go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions. We've been getting some great ones in the chat.
And as you're doing that, I'll kind of scroll through. I know there are a few.
Looks like Allison had a question. Hi, Allison.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. I attended so many of these webinars. I'm always learning new things. Thank you very much. Sure. I really liked that postcard idea, and I just didn't catch, was it handy written or?
Yeah, it's handwritten with like a random Y in there somewhere.
That's right.
There you go. Handwritten, WRYTTEN. We've used it ourselves a couple of times too. If you're using, if you have that Zapier integration, which is something to consider if you don't, you can basically say, hey, there's a new donor through Colorado Gives, send them over to handwritten, and here's kind of a pre-built template of generally what I want to say. It can insert a first name and some kind of like dynamic info if you need to. You obviously have to have a full mailing address to do this. So as long as you're capturing that, you can make sure that these go out. But it can be a really powerful tool and something simple to automate
yes.
as well.
Thank you very much. No, I'm wild about Zapier. I learned about that last November. Thanks.
It's a game changer. Love it. Cool.
All right, we have another question from Jenna. Thank you. Hi, Jenna, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, it's actually Gina.
Gina, sorry.
That's okay. That goes along with that recovering Texan thing.
You can call me Gordon instead of Jordan if you want.
Okay, Gordon. So this has been really, really great information. And for those of us who are just a little technologically challenged, my question was, can we hire somebody to help walk us through at least the first part? It sounds like a membership to your company, and there's a lot more information there, but like for Colorado Gives, do you have employees there who also moonlight by helping hand-holding maybe?
Oh yeah, from our perspective, yeah, that's me. If you want to chat about this, I can help you with strategy, preparation for Colorado Gives, and how you might use the platform year round.
Right.
I'll let Nathan speak to help from Next After, but I know that there are consultants. We've worked a lot of them with webinars we did in the past that do just this. They are helping and hand-holding for nonprofits that need help to execute on these basic donor engagement and marketing initiatives. Now, I'd say before you spend a chunk of money on a consultant, I would explore Next After and all of their resources, because this is what they do and it's all data driven. And so that might be step one. And then step two might be talking to a consultant to see if it's within your budget and timeline to engage one of those folks to help. Well, do you have any commentary on that, Nathan?
Yeah, the membership to get access to courses and stuff. That the course will walk through in a little bit more depth and not nearly as rapidly as we just flew through things today. So I'm sure that will help. We do talk a little bit about platforms and that sort of stuff, and some of the more technology data requirements in a little bit more depth. That said, if that's not enough, as Next After, we typically work. I don't want to disqualify anyone from working with us, because we'd love to serve as best as we can. We typically work with about the top 5% of organizations. So from a budgetary standpoint, that may be hard to pull off. But we've also got some great partners that can help with this sort of stuff too. I'd encourage you to, feel free to connect with Jordan on some of the tools that Colorado Gives has, the partners that they have. But I'm happy to make some references to some people who could help you out if you need that. So.
And when you say the top 5%, is that what you said of organizations? So that's the $1 million level of budget and above, or?
So, for us, we're typically it's about 5 million up in terms of total annual budgets, unless you have a lot of web traffic or something, or you've got the funding to go build a digital program kind of from scratch and are ready to make some big monetary investments to go.
We're not quite there.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah, it's like, again, I never want to exclude anyone. That's why we do these things too. And we've got courses and memberships so we can serve as many people as we possibly can. But
and we're ever so grateful for Colorado Gives and how it's helped us.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. And it looks like Shayla just mentioned in the chat that she helps Colorado nonprofits with this kind of stuff. So she might be a person to get in contact. Love making the connections.
That's
great.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe we'll take one or two more questions and then wrap it up for today. I see yep, Ted.
Yep, Ted.
Hi, Ted.
Hey, thank you very much. Hey, real quick, when we set up the email campaign, it makes total sense. But what about the second time they donate, but it's next year? Do we have a second drip campaign? And then the third time, like, are they just getting the same series?
So this would just be, and that's something we get into in more like data requirements and that sort of stuff. This would just be triggered basically on that first donation. There's a lot of ways you can trigger it. Typically, we would say if you've got a flag for like first gift date, pass that over to your email tool to say if they're newly created and their first gift date is in the past 24 hours, then enroll them in the series. That way, when they make a gift again in a month or in a year or whatever, they don't go back through it. You could also have an exclusion list or something to say, hey, if they've been through the automation, don't let them go back through. Some tools will let you do that. But no, I wouldn't send the same series out each time. You could consider at some point, like, is there a specific cultivation path we want for that second year donor? But that's kind of next level, and I'd focus on getting this one out the door first.
Okay,
and it feels to me like at the end of this series is where that transition email comes into play. So by defining in that transition email, hey, we're going to start talking to you in monthly newsletters or whatever that looks like. That should help kind of make that bridge from the end of the welcome series to whatever's next for that donor. Is that
definitely?
Yeah.
And we'd often recommend, it's hard to just get going if you don't have it yet, but like weekly cultivation email, keep people engaged that way. You reactivate them, maybe quarterly when you have a larger giving campaign or something like that. And with those, you can then do some deeper segmentation for, key donor like life cycle stages, and how do I talk to second year donors differently than new donors, differently than key multi-year donors. So there's a whole web of a segmentation you can get into at that point, but consistent cultivation for those people will go a long way. Cool.
Awesome.
We're at 11:08, so we're well over time here. If you've got additional questions for me, you can feel free to shoot me an email. I'll do my best to get back to you. Sometimes my inbox gets overloaded, but Nathan@nextafter.com. Keep it simple. Just shoot me an email. Happy to chat some more that way. Jordan, any parting thoughts from you?
No, just thank you guys. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. Happy 2024, and get in contact with us for any support around digital fundraising. Thank you for your time today, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.